Good morning, you guys. I was trying to figure out what exactly to talk about today. I have a few hours before I go into the part-time job. I knocked out my eBay work, took the dogs on a walk, and I wanted to put something out here for you guys. I took some notes as to possible videos, but I really wasn't in the mind frame to do those yet, you know? So in this video, I'm going to tell you who Righteous Monkey is. I'm going to tell you who I am. And if you're wondering, yeah, I love Deftones, my favorite band. Anyway, to all the new people here, welcome. My name is Daniel. This isn't going to be a long, drawn-out video. I'm going to start off with my childhood, but it was a very basic childhood, all right? Just going to elaborate on, I guess, some of the interesting aspects of my life, you know? So, my name is Daniel, 42 years old. I was born in 1980. I'm a Virgo. I was born in Texas. My dad was in the military. My mom, she's a hairstylist. So after Texas, we moved to Oklahoma, Colorado. This is all for the military. My dad's military. And we moved down here to Tucson when I was 5 years old and started going to school. I'm an only child. I had plenty of cousins. So the only time I was really lonely is when I was alone at home, you know, with my parents in my room. I was always doing things by myself, and I was cool with that. That's all I knew. I had no issue with that. I told my mom when I was younger, I was like, look, if you guys make a baby, if you guys make me another brother, or if you guys make me a brother or sister, I'm going to lock them in a closet. Because I was too used to the way things were. You know, I was content with my situation. My parents didn't get a divorce till like 2005. No, they separated like around that time, and they finalized the divorce 2007. So I went to school. I wasn't the best student academically. I was well behaved, but I was like a B, C, D student. A few A's sprinkled in, you know. Played baseball my whole life, the majority of my life. Soon I was like 5 or 6. However old you are when you play t-ball, I played t-ball. My dad was the coach, and he was a really good coach as well. You know, one of our years we went undefeated. We had I think it was like 14 wins, no losses on the baseball team. I was a second baseman. I tried pitching for a little bit, but I excelled at second base, did pretty good. High school, actually played baseball all the way up until my freshman year. There was a lot of favoritism on the baseball team. The coach on the team, the head coach for the baseball team, he was a coach for one of the leagues out here in town. There was a lot of favoritism, and I didn't get much playing time. I wasn't the biggest hitter, but I always got on base, and what more could he ask for, right? I always got on base, and I scored. I scored a lot. And I also scored in baseball too. All right, we'll keep it at that. But so yeah, I was like, okay, this is not fun. I decided to stop playing baseball, and I didn't play the freshman year. So I have a family friend, started wrestling in high school. He came over to our house. He's like, look, just join the wrestling team. Come by, check it out, you know, for as long as you want. So one day after school, I went to the wrestling room, checked it out, and it was freaking awesome. I've never done anything like that. No martial arts, nothing physical. You know, I was always on the baseball field. So my first week, we were practicing throws, and I landed wrong, and I fractured my radius bone here in my right arm. So I was out for like 6 weeks, however long it was, but I still went to the wrestling practice because it intrigued me. You know, it was freaking awesome. So, like I said, that was my sophomore year. Ultimately, it got better. I was stacking up my wrestling medals. And fun fact, I wrestled a guy with no legs. He had like little stubs, no legs. He beat me 18-3. My only 3 points were when he just let me go. I would turn around, face him, and he would just take me down. He had long arms, and he was real short, obviously. I'd never wrestled anybody like that before. This dude beat me 18-3. He would just let me go and take me down. So if you beat somebody by 15 points in high school wrestling, collegiate wrestling, you win. So 18-3, I lost. I also had to wrestle two girls. Two girls. And we also had a girl on our wrestling team. So I had to practice with her. That sucked. I didn't like wrestling with her, practicing with her, because I couldn't go full force. In the time I did, I shot for double leg, picked her up, dropped her, and I had to, right? I had to, because if you don't go full force, if you don't, like if I didn't go full force, that wouldn't benefit me. So shot down, picked her up, took her down, and she landed wrong and like dislocated her elbow. I'm like, look, that's what happens. This is why I didn't want to go full force on her. But I was getting irritated, pissed off. I'm like, okay, you know, she wants to wrestle, and I had to do what I had to do. I didn't want to hurt the girl on purpose, but that was part of the deal. That is wrestling. I didn't do anything illegal, nothing like that. So I told my coach, look, man, I can't, there's no way I could get better if I'm wrestling with this girl. So I wanted to wrestle the next guy up. I was, at that time, I was like, started off wrestling at the 103 pound, and I kept working out, getting bigger, worked my way up to 112 pounds, 119. My senior year, graduated at 125 pounds, and did pretty good, whatever, right? So that was my senior year. When I graduated, I tried to wrestle for the community college out here, and I was weighing like 128 pounds, something like that. They wanted me to wrestle, but at the weight class 117 pounds. I didn't have the body fat. I was pretty tall for my weight class, and I was lean, I was strong, I had lean muscle. So I didn't have the body fat to cut down from 128-ish down to 117. If I did that, I would be weak. I would have to lose muscle, and I didn't want to do that. So the next option was for me to wrestle the next weight class up, and those guys were huge compared to the size I was, because they drop. Some of the guys dropped from heavier weight classes. Some of the guys had the body fat to do that. I didn't. They were strong. So long story short, I decided not to wrestle for a community college. Gave that up. I was like, damn, I really wanted to wrestle. So after being stressed out, whatever, I decided to, after I graduated, after that time, stressed out, started hanging out with some friends that were on the wrestling team. One of the guys in particular, he liked to smoke weed, right? So I decided to smoke weed. I fell in love with it. That went on for quite a few years, but I made it to my second year in college at the community college. I dropped out due to my grades. I was just smoking too much weed, having fun, not studying. I didn't have the patience to study because I was always high. You know, I'd try and study, read something in a book, and I just keep forgetting what I'm reading. Just because I start reading something, and then my mind would go somewhere else, and I'd be thinking about some girl or something like that. So, I dropped out of college, right? And I never decided to give myself a chance. If you guys watch these videos, I mentioned, give yourself a chance. Give yourself a chance. There were so many things I could have done to try and better my situation, but I just went the party route. It was just fun hanging with my boys, right? Young and dumb, man. So, fast forward some years, I was like 18 at the time, 19, dating this girl, moved into an apartment complex with her. She liked smoking weed. We're smoking a lot. The weed affected me so much. I moved from the west side out of my parents' house into her apartment on the north side. She lived on the first floor. We were in the on the bottom, fortunately, right? Not fortunately, what am I talking about? We're on the first floor of the apartment, and she had the curtains open, and there was this guy that lived upstairs, and like random people walking by, and I was just so high. Every time somebody would walk by, she looked at the curtain, and I thought she was just like checking some dude out. You know, I was just young. I'm not a jealous dude. You know, I've never cheated on a girl before in my life. Never have, never wanted to. Because when I'm in love, personally, I like giving all my love to that one girl. I have no desire to cheat. I don't think I've been cheated on, but who knows? Who knows, right? So, long story short with that, we would just start bickering, her and I, because I think she'd be checking out some other guy. I've never been the jealous type, as I said. Never been the jealous type. I was always confident with who I am. Even when I was smoking weed a lot, I was still in good shape. I still had the muscle on me. I was clean cut, whatever. So we dated. I did a video on that of how we met. Ultimately, I take her. We both leave our exes for each other, and that was pretty wild time, man. Weed. That then I get introduced to the let's see. I get introduced to. I tried a little bit of coke back then, but around that time we did a lot of acid and shrooms. Her and I was never really into it. I didn't like it much. The only time I liked it is when I was in nature, in the mountains. That way, unlimited land, you're with a few people, and you're just vibing, just talking. So, fast forward till I turned 21, and started hitting the bars. I had some friends that were in the music scene, so we'd be hitting the bars starting Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sundays as well, right? Hit the bar, there'd be girls around. While we're there, we'd be socially networking, if you will. Bars here close at 2 o'clock, so starting at 1 o'clock, I always had to make sure I had a girl with me at the bars. At the bars. I never had to be in a relationship. there's guys out there that need to be in a relationship, and if that's how you are, that's how you are. I've never been the type that always needed to be in a relationship. I don't need somebody. I don't need to be in a relationship all the time. You know, I'm cool. When I find that one girl, she knows I like her. And that's that, right? But at the bar with the alcohol, with the coke, and ecstasy, we'd be raving a lot too. So that was a pretty fun time. A pretty fun time. I got my first DUI 21 days after my 21st birthday. 2 blocks from my house. The license plate light was out. My luck, it was a DUI van. I saw it approaching from a distance. It was dark. I was 2 blocks from the house, literally. My license plate light was out. The van was approaching. I didn't know it was a cop at the time. All of a sudden, like, boom, he hit the lights. So I pull over. I get cited. I was denying everything to this guy, to this cop. I had to go in his van and blow in like a tube or whatever. So the way that ended, my dad had to walk to the scene, and I asked the cop, if my dad comes here, could you not tow my car? He's like, yeah, just make sure he's here quick. So I call my dad. He walks to the scene. This is like 2:30 in the morning, something like that. My dad walks to the scene. After I receive my DUI citation, we get in the car. He drives my vehicle back to the house. He's like, look, we'll talk about this in the morning. And I just stayed quiet, I think. Anyway, so yeah, still partying, right? I completed all the DUI obligations after that. I didn't have the biggest rap sheet when I was younger. I think when I was 19, I was with a girl at the time, and I got cited for possession of marijuana, something like that. Very minor misdemeanor offense. So I had the marijuana charge and a DUI. Other than that, I was cool up until I caught my prison case. So I just partied, man. Just whatever was on the table, drug-wise, I did. So, forgot to mention, when I stayed with the girl at the apartment until we broke up. Then I moved back in with my family. And fast forward some time, my parents split up. It's weird at the house. I'm still an only child at that time, and I'm still an only child today. So it was just weird at the house. The vibes were weird. I had to get out, so I moved into I moved out, got my own spot, and I was working at a hotel at the time. Started off as a regular front desk agent, worked my way up to front desk supervisor, and I was the manager on duty for the hotel on the weekends. So around that time, I didn't get introduced to Vicodin till 2005. That time I was moving on. I was living by myself at the condo. I had a dog, so it was just me and my dog, and I was working at the hotel full time. So I was still in a mental funk at that time, just depressed, down. When you're at the front desk of the hotel, especially in the supervisor position, I had to look over the front desk, make sure everybody was doing what they're doing. I had to make sure all the guests were happy in the hotel. It was a real old hotel, run down. There'd be a lot of maintenance issues, so I had to juggle a lot of things going on at the time. And plus I had to deal with my personal life as well. I just wasn't happy at the time. So the maintenance guy at the hotel notices this. Him and I were always cool. He'd be coming over after work. We'd buy a case of Keystone Light. We'd buy some pork rinds, and we'd just get drunk, talk it out, and just have fun, listen to music, just getting hammered after work. So One day at work, he's like, look, bro, he's like, look, try this. He hands me a 5 milligram Vicodin, a Watson pill. And he's like, it'll cheer you up. It'll get you out of this funk that you're in. I'm like, all right, bro, whatever. Anything had to feel better than the way I was feeling right there. So I take it. You know, a half hour later, this happened at work while I was on duty. And I think I took a break from the desk, went to the bathroom or something like that. Or I went to the maintenance office to talk to him. I don't remember exactly how that worked out. But I take it. Half hour later, 45 minutes later, all of the pain and sadness I was feeling inside was just lifted. I got hammered off that one pill, 5 milligram Vicodin. I've never done anything like that in my life. Never messed with opiates at all. I don't even think morphine or anything like that. The only other pill I did in my life, prior to that was ecstasy. So other than that, never messed with the pills. When the Vicodin was introduced into my system, I knew it was for me. That made everything I was going through that much better. It filled that void, that emotional, dark, sad, depressing hole in my heart. I didn't care about anything else. My parents were divorced, whatever, right? I was just high all the time, all day long. So before the shift ended that night, I asked him, yo, you're coming over. I'm buying some beer, buying some pork rinds. You're bringing more of that to the house. So we party that night, popping those things. It just changed my life. Ultimately, it changed it for the worse, but it made my situation at that time better. Fast forward some time, I get addicted. I don't remember the first day I knew I was addicted, but I'm sure I was dope sick, waking up. It's like, what the heck is going on, man? So before, even on my days off and before I'd go to work, I'd be hitting them up. Look, I go in at 3 o'clock. I need you to get more of those. I'm going to stop by your house before I go to work because I can't go to work like this, you know? I didn't know the term dope sick at that time. I just knew I wasn't well, you know? I couldn't function being dope sick at work, so I always had to make sure I had more pills on me. So as my tolerance grew, I was in search for more Vicodin, more perks, oxys, OCs, work my way up to OC 80s, sprinkle in some OC 60s, the red ones. I was just hammered, man. Just hammered. It got to the point where me getting high really didn't happen. I was just to the point where I needed to get well. So I would take those. Didn't matter the milligram. I would just take it and all my dope sickness would just go away because, as you guys know, the only thing that could fix dope sickness is more dope, more pills, more H. Nothing else could touch it. Nothing. Tylenol, ibuprofen, nothing else could touch. Nothing else could scratch that itch of dope sickness, you know, aside from Suboxone or methadone, whatever. So I'm hooked, right? I start taking money from that job. I get fired from that job for taking money. Ridiculous, right? So I get fired. At that time, my friend is helping one of his friends, my best friend at the time, he's helping one of his boys open up a sushi restaurant. He gets me a job there. Ultimately, fast forward some time, I think I did that for about a year, up to a year and a half. I ruined that opportunity. because I was due to my addiction. So I ruined that opportunity. I think I did a video on that. I don't remember. I think I did, though. It's one of my earlier videos. So I get fired from there because I left the shift one day. I'm going to sum it up for you guys. That day, I went to work at the sushi restaurant. I think I worked like 5 to close, 5 in the evening to close. And I went to, I was dope sick that day. Went to work. I don't know how I did, but the plan was to get some tips and call who I needed to call to get some dope, right? So so I couldn't get dope that shift. It was a busy night, real busy night, and I took a break from the sushi bar. I went to the back kitchen. There's like a little break area with lockers. I saw a purse there. There was I think there were like 2 $10 bills sticking out. And I was like, dude, I don't know what to do. The tips aren't happening. So ultimately, I take those 2 10s and I take the cash and then go back to the sushi bar. Ultimately, they find out, they pull all the sushi chefs from the sushi bar to the back kitchen. The owner of the sushi restaurant tells everybody to be quiet. He addresses us. He's like, look, we have a thief in the building. So that server, that waitress, spoke to the manager, said that somebody took the cash. She said her cash is missing. Somebody probably took it. So he's like, look, we have a thief in the building. I'm going to give you guys till the end of the shift to return the missing cash. So after that conversation, we all went right back to work. It was still busy. So I am thinking like, fuck, I am in a predicament, right? So my best friend, the one that got me the job, he was working that night. He's like, did you take it? Because he knew about my situation, my addiction. And I'm like, nah, man, no, I'm working, dude. So I did take it. While on shift, busy at the sushi bar, I put down my knife and I walk out the back door. I had no intentions of going back. I had no intention of returning the money because that was mine, so I could get some dope. And I didn't have it in me to admit to that because I was so selfish at the time, so dope sick, so selfish. I needed that money. I've always been the type, as I've mentioned in other videos, to do what it takes to get dope or money and then deal with consequences later. I was willing to deal with consequences later. But I just didn't care, I didn't want to deal with those consequences. So I didn't go back. I just left in mid-shift, busy. Poor guys at the sushi bar. They were backed up. There's cash missing. I'm missing. So I leave, call who I need to call, go pick up. Meanwhile, they're wondering where I am. So I think my best friend at the time told the owner of the restaurant, the deal about my situation. And me being the scumbag I was, I think the next day I called him asking for my job back, begging. He's like, look, we can't do it. So I'm glad he didn't hire me back. I was just so sick at that time. This was pre-2010. 2007, 8, 9, something like that. So, I don't know if I mentioned, I did the pills for 2 years. One day, I couldn't find pills. I get put on heroin. And like I said, when I started the video, I was addicted to opiates for 13 years. did the pills for 2 years, and then the rest of the time, I was hooked on H. So I catch 2011 towards the end of the year. That's when I catch my case. I explained that situation in another video. When I catch my case, I get placed on intensive probation. I was thinking I'd be placed on probation because I haven't committed a crime in so long. Actually, I've been committing crimes, but I didn't get caught up for them. I never got caught. You know, the last crime that I got caught up for was for that DUI in 2001. So I get placed on probation and intensive probation, and I violated that multiple times. So my probation gets revoked twice while I'm on intensive probation. The third time I had to see the judge, she sentenced me to 2 years in the Arizona Department of Corrections. With back time, time served, and the 85% that you have to serve here in Arizona, I only had to do 12 months in prison. So I had no choice. I got sent to prison. Did that. Was in there for a year. After that, did 6 months parole. Graduated that successfully. I ended up relapsing about a year, something like that, after parole. Ran into one of my old friends, and I was like, screw it. You know, I feel good. I deserve this right now. So ultimately, that relapse or that lapse leads to a full-blown relapse, and I pick up right where I left off. So I'm in full-blown running and gunning. Fast forward some time, till 2016, I went to a rehab. I was there for 2 months. Went to sober living. I messed up that opportunity. Rehab was good. Sober living was good. I just messed up due to relapsing again, right? I did another video on that, the time at the sober living. So full running and gunning, right? Active addiction. All the way up until 2018. I went to a 4-month rehab. Things have been good ever since. Thankfully, I made it to where I am today. This will be a year in 4 months that I'm clean and sober. I resell clothing on eBay. I do that. Also, I have a part-time job. I recently got a job as a parts driver at AutoZone. So I'm doing that just so I could get out of this, the place I'm living now, because I'm just not happy with it. Not happy at all. So I got this job so I can move out as soon as possible, get my own house for me and my dogs. And I've posted a picture of the dogs in my community page, and you've probably seen them in videos. So life is good. I'm just doing what I have to do, right? I'm dealing with normal problems. And for that, I am thankful. I embrace the grind. I welcome adversity, because that's the only way I'm going to get stronger. Of course, there's times when I don't want to do what I have to do. This morning, I didn't want to leave my house because I was working on eBay stuff. And I always take my dog out in the morning, but for some reason, I just didn't want to wake up and take him. So I had that in the back of my mind this morning. So I went to my storage, came back, started packing my orders. I'm like, look, I can't start doing life wrong again, you know. I don't have time to do things wrong anymore. I'm 42 years old. 42 years old. start my life over at 39 years old. And I'm still not where I want to be. So I don't have time to do things wrong. I don't have time to start developing bad habits. So instead of taking the easy way out, putting the leash on my dog and walking around the neighborhood once, instead of taking that easy way out, I'm like, look, I'm going to one-up myself, because I had some stinking thinking, right? I was like, no. I was in a mind frame where I was like, well, I got stuff to do, we'll go for a walk tomorrow. And then I decided to check myself, put the leash on my dog. We drive to the park where we go a lot. And we walked around the big park twice. And we had a good time. And it was mentally rough. Like, I was just feeling sorry for myself, right? Just stinking thinking. And I could relate how I was feeling to when you don't want to go to the gym and work out. But it feels good, and it gets easier once you're there and you just knock out your workout. That's kind of how I could relate what I was going through in the mind state I was at earlier. So I didn't want to go, but I made myself. I one-upped it. I treated my dog to a nice long walk at the park. So that's ultimately who I am. 42 years old, a Virgo. I resell clothing on eBay, which means I buy it for like 50 cents or $1. Buy a shirt like this, or I have specific brands that I look for, certain styles, stuff that I've sold before in the past and stuff that I know will sell. So I resell clothing. I got a part-time job at AutoZone, trying to save up, get my own house. And that's what I'm doing. I don't want the eBay business, I don't want the eBay money to get affected, because I have to keep buying clothing and I have to list the same amount on eBay every day. I never take a day off. I work on eBay every day. When I have a day off from AutoZone, I work on eBay every day. There's never a day where I don't do anything. So rest is huge for me. Rest is huge. So I do eBay every day, and then I rest when I can. I don't overly rest, but I rest enough to where I get things done. I rest enough to where I could go to work. I rest enough to where I could walk my dog. That is ultimately who Righteous Monkey is. I will see you on the next video. Thanks for listening.